Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it out. Tonight, we gonna let it out. Tonight, we gonna let it out. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it out. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it out. Tonight, we gonna let it out. Tonight, we gonna let it out. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it out.
Ember. Oh, Ember.
Miss Ember.
Oh, great, Ember. Tell me what I'm doing.
Appreciate you, Ember.
Love Ember. She's great.
Bottom of the barrel Ember bullshit.
Oh my God, Ember.
Ember.
We love you, Ember.
You rock at that, Ember.
Ember is the queen.
We're neighbors, Ember.
I see you, Ember.
Hey, Ember is hot.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday and happy deviancy because I'm joined by a deviant outcast today.
Here I am, lurking.
Looking
Still
in
with
the shadows.
I'm
Yes.
stroking
How are
a
you
white
today?
cat. I'm that's a very good question. Confused, excited, tired, still having the taste of my breakfast at 5 p.m. Lingering in my mouth, my morning coffee, ready to go, and yeah, super excited, super condemning myself for at 40 many years old. I still haven't learned that when I think, oh, I need to do this, it's X amount of days left. Oh, that's good. I should do it then. I should not wait until it's like an hour before and then start. so that when it's 5 minutes left, I'm gulping down yogurt and like going through books and papers and I'm stressed. I stressed myself out.
Well, no need to stress on our account. The only thing that we need you to do is use that delightful brain you keep inside that skull of yours.
I would try and do my absolute best. And it's actually very fun because Ryan just wrote something in chat.
Is it this one?
Yeah. Is it true that
is it true
if you calculate the measurements of the pyramids, you can determine when Jesus is coming back? Actually, of course, that's not true. But the other day, I was listening to a lecture on not this topic, but an Egyptology lecture. And that's when I learned that a Dr. Warren, I'm going to assume that he is not a doctor of Egyptology. I have no idea who he is. He was just mentioned. Recently proposed that under the Great Pyramid of Khufu at Giza, Jesus is buried. That's a new one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hadn't heard. I've heard a lot of things buried under the Great Pyramid. How? How? Like the pyramids were known in Bible times. They were already there.
I know.
What?
I know. It's like, okay, so in I do not get it. It has to be one of these people who on the surface you kind of think they are Christian, but in reality they're just peddlers of woo. And they have made up their own theology, because where in the Bible does it say that Jesus is transported from Jerusalem to ancient Egypt, to the Giza plateau? Maybe it's in there. I don't know.
Wow. Okay, so I found this from the Jerusalem Post. Dr. Paul Warner, British anthropologist, posits that the tomb of Jesus, the tomb because he is dead, he did not rise, he did not res, his body is hidden, and the Ark of the Covenant just within the Great Pyramids of Giza. Yada yada, concealed for millennia, met with the Egyptian Minister of Tourism and Antiquities in 2022. Following the meeting, Egypt agreed to receive his research data in exchange for their support, according to Newsbite. So this is stories based on other stories reported elsewhere. But what's really interesting is that Warner says he derived this hypothesis through study of ancient religious texts across Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, as well as contemporary archaeological methods and quantum theory.
Exactly what I said. Woo. Scientific bullshit. It's so fascinating. As a matter of fact, I wonder.
I forgot to share the screen. Duh.
Oh.
Quantum theory.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Did it say in the article what kind of a PhD he has?
It did not. Let's see. what is it? Paul Werner. Paul Werner, it says he's an anthropologist, but that doesn't necessarily follow that that's his credentials.
No.
Credentials. I don't think that's the right person. There's a judge, there's an actor. Right, I need to be more specific. Let's try anthropologist. Anthropologist. You European people, particularly in the English-speaking world, you need to be more creative with your names. Giving every child the same name makes it hard to find who you're looking for.
Don't blame me. I'm the only one in the world with my name. But in general, yeah, it's John Johansson, who is the son of Johan Johnson, who was the son of John Johansson.
Why not? Why not?
Right.
I'm not finding this person aside from reference to this article, or well, the articles that it came from. Jerusalem Post. Body of Christ in the Ark may be hidden under the Great Pyramid. Is this a hoax where the fucking scientist is made up too?
No. I don't think so, because of the source. So it was Dr. Sai Hawass, the lecture I was looking at, or listening to rather, and you can say a lot about Sai Hawass, and I would, but he takes his work very seriously. He is a very prominent and qualified Egyptologist, and he's not known to make shit up at all. He I have to think, what did he say?
I don't know. I'm not finding anything about this person, like not just what their degree is in, but like them saying or doing anything else other than this article.
I mean, it's a bit strange. What was his first name?
Paul, like the apostle. It's another one of those cases of it. Okay, so I there's a few instances where a story seems to not exist, which is to say you can see the story reported in the media, but what you'll find is they reference another story by another outlet, and when you go to that outlet, they'll reference another outlet, and like we see this with the Jerusalem Post thing at the very beginning. They talk about how, according to a report in the Express, right? And then they reference a report by News Bites. Like, they don't have firsthand information, even though it's the Jerusalem Press. And
yeah,
when you Google it, when you try to get to the source, everything is referencing other things, and there doesn't seem to be an actual source for it. I ran across this a while back when I was still doing the 30 and 60 news program with Cam on Skeptic Haven. I came across a story of a Chinese person who had fathered children with one partner and then mothered children with another partner, because I was still trying to find out if, like, I was normal. If, like, what the fuck? it turns out it's not actually that rare. It's just hard to find examples in the Googles. But I digress. So I was trying.
Yeah, so
I was very interested. So I was trying to track down the root of this story, and it seemed like I think it was the BBC reported on it based on something that they picked up from like a Pakistani news source, who picked it up from an Indian news source, the Hindustan Times, which just republishes everything from across the internet, who picked it up from the Hong Kong Sun, who picked it up from, and I just kept tracing it and tracing it and tracing until eventually it came back to a social media post somewhere in Southeast Asia just reported a thing. Like, it wasn't even a news report. It was it was the same as like the news reporting on some random TikTok person saying he's got conclusive proof aliens built the pyramids. It's that level of social media. But
yeah,
somehow it got picked up by the Hong Kong Morning Sun, and then other media started reporting on them reporting on it until it eventually made its way to the BBC. And there was never a real person at the root of it. It's just the media reporting on other media reporting on something, you know?
yeah. So those things do unfortunately happen, where even the most reputable news sources, through all of these intricate roads of the binary verse, the internet, ends up and is presented as legitimate. I'm also thinking, because so there are a few. I'm thinking whoever this person is, if we are going, if we are assuming that this is a real person, they most certainly will not be a PhD in any field that we would expect it to be for him to make such a judgment. He's not going to be an archaeologist. He's definitely not going to be an Egyptologist. I mean, not even Dr. David Falk, the defamed Egyptologist who's working his way through YouTube backwaters.
The famous historian who has written no books.
Oh, that's of course Dr. Kip, who's written no books.
Mm-hmm.
David Falk also has written no books, but I think he's written even fewer books. Yeah. Not even he would come up with something that frankly messed up. And so I have found that even there is someone who's named Yuval Laor. He is a PhD in evolutionary biology, and he also works with he studies religion in a psychological sense, and evolutionary, from an evolutionary and cultural and historical perspective. He is a professor at the University of, is it Jerusalem? What's the name of that freaking university? Either way, he is a reputable person, and he is surprisingly hard to find online. And it's even harder to find whether or not his credentials are what they are said to be. He is a very legitimate scholar who's done some fantastic works. But yeah, so when it comes to academia, sometimes I find that academia tends to lag when it comes to staying ahead of the technological curve, the curve of the internet.
Yeah, fair enough. A person could have real credentials and just have no social media footprint because they're too busy digging in the dirt and piecing together pottery shards and what have you.
Right. However, I again, if we go by the presumption that this is a real person, I'm not surprised that someone would spout this type of idea. I'm not even surprised that the person in question has a PhD, which is very sad to have to say. But the greater picture here is, or the greater issue, is that we see this trend where not just the regular pseudo scientific, pseudo archaeological, pseudo Egyptological claims are being spouted by people who doesn't know better or doesn't want to know better, but which has to do with, oh no, it wasn't it was aliens or they had electricity. But these ideas that to show their accuracy or would basically destroy the what's already there, the archaeology that is at said site, in this case the pyramids, and that's very worrying to me, because just as with the situation in the US today, there are huge amount of money that's behind this, that's pushing these types of narratives. And that makes it very dangerous. I'm constantly, and I have been since, I don't know, my teens, I've been worried that something will happen that would destroy the pyramids. And I'm not really that into the pyramids specifically. They're a bit too, everyone likes the pyramids. But the thought that someone would drop a bomb and 4,500 years of history would no longer be. That makes me so, it really cuts me deep. It makes me extremely sad to think, because it's not beyond possibility. We've all already seen during the ISIS thingamajig how they destroyed ancient statues.
Right, the destruction of the ancient giant Buddhas in
Yes.
was it Afghanistan or was wherever the fuck
Syria,
it was?
I think it was Syria. No, that's too far south. It has to have
Right, it
been.
was the Taliban who did something along those lines in
Yeah.
Afghanistan, but ISIS was destroying ancient monuments, and that's yeah, it's oh, okay, so it's not unique to the modern age, right? Like there was a period
No.
in ancient Egypt where one pharaoh passed and the next pharaoh tried to erase the previous pharaoh from history. Like,
Yes.
there have been people who, for political reasons, have tried to erase monuments and part
Yeah.
of history. It's just, it seems to be happening on a much wider, faster scale now than ever before. And it's
Yeah,
religious extremism rather than political motives that seem to be behind it.
yeah, and of course those two are interlinked in those cases. It's religious. It's fundamentalist religious ideas that are then sneaked in, snucked in, snooked. They are snooked into politics through theocracy and such ideas. Um, and I think that the difference, because as you said, revisionist history has been a thing since before history. The difference today, I feel, is our capacity today to destroy something much with much greater ease, less work, less time. I mean, it wouldn't take that much. Look at the World Trade Center towers. They were destroyed in a matter of minutes.
Well, they fell in minutes.
Yeah.
The fires took a couple of hours. The planning took a while. And on the grander scheme of things, remember, the first attack against the World Trade Centers was in the 90s, and that failed.
Right.
And then there was another attempt in the late 90s that failed.
Right.
And so that was actually the third try. So in the greater scheme of things, it took them 3 tries to actually blow up the buildings. So it depends on perspective.
But I'm just, so my fear hasn't been that so much that it's been that too, but that it necessarily would have to happen by planning. But imagine a war where bombs are to be dropped on Cairo. I don't think most people understand how close to the modern city of Cairo that the pyramids are today. I mean, they are right there at the city limit. Imagine someone is going to drop a bomb or several, and they release the bomb at the right moment. We have seen those types of things before. Accidental bomb drops that has been carried out slightly at the wrong moment, and they have hit something that should not have been hit in an attempt to take out something that was considered legitimate. And we also know that in times of war, regimes, they tend to put things like let's say an army base close to churches, monuments that are not. Oh, look!
Pyramids Visitor Center, right there.
Yep.
Great Sphinx, right there.
Yep.
City of Cairo. Well, city of Giza, which is part of the greater Cairo.
Exactly. So it's
the Delta.
Ew.
Like, seriously,
so
the Delta, it's a good sized Delta, but it's a long way from being the biggest Delta in the world kind of thing. And it's so close that when viewed from even a little bit in, it's still it's right there on the city. The reason there is a city limit is because of the pyramids, you know.
Yep.
Like they're building more city over here.
Yep.
So yeah.
No, and I'm surprised they haven't. But that's probably because if you look to just the south of that red dot, there isn't anything really built there, like there. And but that's because all of this is ancient. How do you say? It's a site of history. There are archaeology there. I hate it when my brain is going like 200 miles an hour and I have all of these things I want to say. And then I try to say it in English and I just stumble on my words and I forgot simple words like the one that it nags me. It's really annoying. So everyone listening, I am very, very thankful that you even bother to stay. But you should, because Egypt is the, as the famous Egyptologist Dr. Bob Breyer, who was the first Egyptologist I came across way back in the very early 90s, said, our Egypt is a place for so many firsts, meaning the first nation state, the first monument of what's monolithic, not monolithic, monumental stone monument. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry.
It's all good. English is hard for us. Like, people understand that sometimes it's difficult to find the right words. You know, I'm a native speaker and I still have difficulty finding the right words from time to time. It's completely understandable. But you're absolutely right that Egypt, like we know of other civilizations in other regions, but the Nile civilization was the first one where we started to see more than just city states, but nation states start to emerge and eventually unify into a single thing. We started to see stone monuments, or at least the longest lasting ones that are still around. Yes, Göbekli Tepe and that the Anatolian civilization, give it a run for its money. But it isn't just the Great Pyramids. These things go back and back and back and back and back. You know, this whole region, it's got all these other less famous pyramids. I've been going down the Nile and clicking on them as we've been talking. And it just, the whole region is just littered with these because we're talking about such a vast time scale. And
it's
Jester
the
pointed out earlier,
longest culture, the longest human culture that's like, how do you say it, when it stays the same, not uniform, but not consecutive,
continuous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Continuous culture that we know of. It's the one ancient culture that we have the most archaeological and written, i.e. historical, information about. And yet, it's the one culture that, I mean, I would say, I don't know if you in the US might have something else, but I would say it's easily the one that's spread most just false information, pseudo woo ideas, and that makes me sad too and frustrated. I had a conversation yesterday when I was going to prepare for this. I had a conversation with a friend who was asking me if there were any images of stone being transported. Are you praying or does your neck hurt?
Oh, I'm.
No, no. I'm
I'm.
sorry.
It's
I'm
all good.
sorry.
It's all good.
No, I'm sorry, Amber. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. No, just
Let's
making
change
sure
focus.
that there wasn't anything wrong, because there's a lot of things that are wrong, but that's not the point of today's show. I just
No,
I know
I
it
was
looked like
looking
I was
down, and
frustrated
when
a
I
little bit.
looked up, it looked like you were kind of praying. I'm sorry. Erase all that. Never mind. He asked me if there were any images of stone being transported by boat to the pyramids.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
Basically, yes. Basically, yes.
Why didn't they just use a Kodak when they? I mean,
And
the fact
so
that all the pyramids are along the damn river, it's just a coincidence.
So I think, because I'm not sure, because we didn't we couldn't really finish the conversation, so I'm not 100% sure where it was going to lead, but I have a memory of having seen on a tomb painting from what I believe is one of the officials. That's not the word I'm looking for, but because never mind. Officials tombs, from tomb painting, wall paintings. I have that memory, but I couldn't find it yesterday when I was talking with him. But there is an image from Deir el-Bahari that was a very weird way of saying it. Deir el-Bahari in outside of modern day Luxor, which is Hatshepsut's funerary or mortuary temple. There is an image there that I've seen it myself when I visited there, of a barge that is carrying two obelisks side by side, and the text describes it's a story about her having these two obelisks carved and put in the temple of the Karnak temple, in Luxor. And then, of course, there is the papyrus of Merer, which was found, I think, less than 10 years ago. I think like 2016 or 2017, I think. Don't quote me on that. Please don't. Don't quote me on any of this. Don't quote me without asking me first, so I can double check, okay? But yeah, there. Oh, Valley of the Kings.
Now, this is another great one. Like, a lot of people make a big deal out of the pyramids, and they are very cool. But it's not the only cool thing. Like these are like carved into hillsides and whatnot. But holy shit, look at this. You know?
Yep. I mean,
I think
if you
we
look
found a
at
360 version a few weeks ago. I can't remember where the hell we put it, but yeah, it's remarkable. And there's like, again, this shit spans thousands of years of history.
yeah, and what people oftentimes have a hard time understanding, and to a large degree, yes, the pseudo thingamajig is out there, of course, but even in like factual documentaries where they actually have one or several real archaeologists, real Egyptologists who knows their shit featured, it's still oftentimes presented as if they are just walking around and suddenly they come across this dinghy in the desert out of nowhere, and that leads them to this idea or that idea. And the same way how we oftentimes refer to the pyramids as appearing out of nowhere. I mean, in a way, it's like it's a flowery way of it's like using a kind of poetic language to create a narrative for purposes of entertainment, whether it be a documentary or a talk like you and me are doing now. But what it does when people don't have the fundamental baseline understanding of how we do history, how we do archaeology, what those fields entail when it comes to studying them, people get this idea that people were basically just gnawing on wood in a cave, not knowing which side of them were up and which were down. And then boom, there are the pyramids. Of course, that's going to create some questions, and it should.
Yeah, but that's not what actually happened. Like we were just seeing back in Cairo, there's dozens of pyramids, and they
Yeah.
go through different stages of sophistication.
And
Like you can see the culture learning how to do it better.
Like the Great Pyramid was created by Khufu. He ruled in the fourth dynasty. He's the second pharaoh of the fourth dynasty, and he lived in the. I have to think. It's always difficult when it comes to BCE. You have to like think in reverse, like the first.
Yeah, because it counts upward instead of downward as you go. It's weird having a
Exactly.
year zero in the middle of our history. It's a very unusual design.
It is. At the same time, I understand why you have to have it somewhere, and since we can't put a date, a specific year on when did we go from Homo. It's not even Neanderthals, but what are they? Homo something.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have a BCE wherever we put zero. I get that. Like my inclination is to say we understand history begins with writing. That's when it the changeover to history is.
Yeah.
And it'd be an estimate no matter where we put it, just like putting the year 0 for the year of Jesus's birth is an estimate. They missed by either 4 years or 6 years, depending on which version of Jesus's birth you want to go with.
Which is why we use BCE and not BC, and AD we used CE and BCE for that exact reason that you just mentioned.
Yeah, but
so
we have to do the same thing
with
the year 0 at the beginning of writing, the earliest writings we can find. And yeah, maybe that would make this the year 5226. Whatever, we get used to it. It's just a number, you know?
It is. It does become important though when we're talking about, so for instance, today we estimate the invention of writing to around 3000 BCE, or I shouldn't say around, but 3 to 3,300, 200, 300, 400, 500, give or take.
And
but
a lot of people
that,
talk about the Sumerians, but the Egyptians get credit here too.
Yes, and I stand by my conviction that if anyone was first, it was the Egyptians, and any Assyriologists you come across would fight me on that.
No doubt.
Sadly, I have witnessed how a lot of other Egyptologists have fallen for this obvious lie that the Sumerians were first. It's a fun little fight you can have with people who are nerdy like that.
It's true. And we do have samples of proto-cuneiform, which is sort of like the pre-hieroglyphs.
No. Stop. No. We have a proto-cuneiform. We also have proto-hieroglyphics, and this is the reason why I kind of stand. I do it with a glint in my eye. I have to say, because it really doesn't matter. It's kind of a loving your field. My team is the best team, that sort of thing. But we also have, as I said, proto hieroglyphics that predates. So I believe it's the clay tablets, the cuneiform seals that we have with proto. I believe they are seals. Pretty sure. Proto cuneiform. I believe they are dated to between 3,200 and 3,300, somewhere around there. The somewhat recently, years go by, so say within the last 20 years, found from around 3,500 they were dated to. But again, it's like, that's what we have found. Then this is why I say it's with a glint in my eye, because we're talking about a couple of hundred of years. And we are also, that's because we happen to find something at a site, and suddenly we can say, okay, they had proto, we see proto hieroglyphics from this time period. But who knows, tomorrow, or maybe even today, maybe right now that we are speaking, maybe right now we are speaking, they're going to find something in the Tigris Valley that happens to be a seal and showing proto-cuneiform that dates to even a couple of 100 years earlier than the thing that we found in ancient Egypt, the seal we found in ancient Egypt. Or in Egypt. So it's kind of, who was first is oftentimes a difficult question. And we have to understand that we put these lines in history, as we were just talking about, and we do it to kind of organize. Humans, I should say, humans have a need to organize their surrounding, to categorize and to divide things in different boxes to make sense of our world and the things around us. But we have to understand that those boxes aren't absolute. There's going to be this wiggle room.
Yeah, because we're talking about an evolutionary process. We're trying to draw a line and say before this time this, after this time that. That's very rarely the case. That only happens when it hinges on a technological innovation, like the printing press, for example. But when you're developing a writing system, it's, first of all, they don't know where they're going. They're just taking what there is and seeing what else they can do with it. But also it develops the same way language develops. And what's really remarkable is that hieroglyphs and cuneiform started from different directions. Cuneiform was tally marks. It was used, proto-cuneiform was accounting that eventually started to get phonetic implications for the markings. It was, we were taking numbers and then adding words. Whereas Egyptian started with the art. The proto-hieroglyphs were symbols that started to have phonetic meanings assigned. So while they both ended up with symbols representing sounds, they came at it from opposite directions.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the invention of writing, there are a couple of things I'm thinking about. One is a question I came across in the chat, but I will address it soon. The invention of writing is really a pivotal moment in history.
It's what makes history.
Of course, it's what we label the when the historical period starts in a specific area, which is why in Scandinavia, our history doesn't start until 1050 or 1066, the Battle of Hastings, but 1050 CE. At that time, we have had history in ancient Egypt for 4,000 years. So, which is twice the time span from us to Jesus.
Yeah, it's quite a big difference. And to put that in perspective, by that convention, and that is a convention, it's what we decided to define as the thing. There are right now prehistoric civilizations on Earth. There are cultures that do not have writing. And so they're definitionally prehistoric, even though they exist right now.
Yep. But what makes the invention of writing so significant, because we're not just talking about adapting or adopting, I mean, not adapting, adopting a writing system. We're talking about like going from a period of time prior to writing to writing existing is that it builds further on this our ability to categorize and put things into boxes, label them, labels, which makes it, gives us the ability to have an truly organized, like, as I said, Egypt is the very first nation state. We have city states, and Egypt were city states as well until the unification. And then we have the first nation state. To be able to govern a large area, a large geographic area, creates this need for administration. You have to know what people are doing, know where they live, bring in taxes and so forth. And all of this is made possible thanks to writing, or the will to have those things is what feeds writing. I don't think they are either this drives the other or the other drives this. I think it's they're working together, feeding into each other. But what I wanted to oh, that's a lovely image you have, Ember.
This general timeline, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tawid, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce that correctly, but on the other hand, I'm not pronouncing anything correctly, so it's okay.
What are words anyway? It's fine.
I mean, what are words? In the chat says, why was it possible to lift that heavy stones to the top? They didn't have cranes or any modern equipment. That's true. They didn't have any modern equipment. They did have cranes, not the type of cranes that we exactly that. They didn't have like the type of cranes that we have today, but they did have a type of crane. And why was it possible is actually the perfect way to ask that question rather than how. Because the reason that they were able to lift those is that they had a lot of people working together towards a unified goal. And this is kind of the fördel, the pros. It's so weird to say pro because I'm not talking about professional.
Prose as in writing, as in verse, yeah.
No. Pro like in for.
Oh, is it pro versus con? Okay. See,
yes,
this
yes,
is one
yes,
of the things that makes
exactly.
English
Exactly.
such a pain. Is a word could mean so many things. My
yes.
goodness. Oh, wowzer. But yeah, that's what makes a civilization. Like some people and there's different things that people point to, like the identity of a people across an entire region, whether it's a city or the Nile River Valley. They identify as one people. That's one thing. You can have a united language. That's one thing. You can have laws that everybody cedes authority to. That's one thing. But I would contend that the biggest thing is working together to achieve a goal. That's only possible in a civilization.
Yes. And
like building a pyramid. That's to show how strong your civilization is. Look at this crazy accomplishment we did.
Exactly. And it became like we have to imagine a world where no one has ever seen anything like it. A monumental building on that scale, where the entire nation works together to accomplish it. It's going to cement a sense of community within you, and we also see this on graffito and from the Great Pyramid of Khufu, and from the burial burial ground of the workers that is nearby, where they are. So the workers were divided into teams, and every team had their own name, like Team Raw, for instance, and Team Khufu. And we see in these texts, we see how they are kind of competing with each other in a friendly manner. Like, oh, we beat Team Khufu, is gonna get it today. We're gonna show him. And I mean, it's very complex. I have 1,000 thoughts in my head.
I know the feeling. Well, before, I want to bring up a couple of super chats before they get too far away.
Of course.
First, Left-Handed Jedi sends us $5. Thank you, Jedi. And says, I back to the belief that the name and soul were intertwined, so stone monuments preserve the most important souls. That has a lot of implications that echo across a lot of history. We do know that there were European cultures who felt that way, who believed that if you knew a person's name, you had some kind of, you were interacting with their soul in some way, and how varied from culture to culture, but that was a long-lasting belief. And so some cultures did inscribe names into stone in order to better preserve the soul. This is where the tradition of writing names in headstones comes from.
That's why you always have the name of the person. If you look at stone monuments from stone statues from ancient Egypt, you're going to see, unless that part has been broken off, of course, it's not been destroyed, but they are always marked with the name of the person. The name, remembering the name of the person, was integral to their ability to survive in the afterlife.
So even in a it's difficult because there's so much religious fundamentalism and extremism in the world today, but it's still possible to imagine a time when people understood that religion was metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that a person living on after death was a metaphorical representation of being remembered, so that your influence still echoes forward through history even when you're no longer actively doing things because you're dead.
Right.
Although that did change over the course of known history, didn't it? Because we started to see preparations. Like, this is another thing. It's not Egyptian technology so much as Egyptian culture, but it kind of related to it, like the development of mummification for preservation for the afterlife. But before we get to that, I also want to point out Jester sent us $5. Thank you, Jester. And Jester says, if a society destroyed the writing system, would they become post-historical?
That's a very good question. And of course, Jester is going to come with the best takes on things. He so often does, if not all the time. So, I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but one would presume that that's how it would be. You would have a period of the post-historical era, And I very much hope that that's not the case, because writing is how we have been able to communicate, not just over distance, but over vast periods of time. But remember,
That's the main
no
difference.
one had a fucking idea about what those strange things on the walls of temples in Egypt, what they meant for 1500 years. No one had one clue. And now we do again. And locking up the hieroglyphs, being able to translate what was on those walls, what's in those papyri, really opened a whole new door to understand our collective past and the way that we have evolved as a species, not on a biological sense, but from cultural sense since then. And it's weird, Amber. It's really weird, because I get so emotional when I think about these things. It really hits me deep, and I want to try and communicate the same type of wonder that I feel, and the sense of, like, I was working as an Egyptologist. I was working as an archaeologist in Czech Republic around 2,000 years ago.
You're older than I thought.
I know. No one really. I mean, just look at my image. Obviously, we didn't even have color photography back then, so
it's true.
Should be a hint. No, I was working excavating this Roman fortress in southeast Czech Republic many years ago, and we found something as insignificant as a whole bunch of nails that had been the nails that are under the sole of a sandal, a Roman military sandal. And it was placed right where the fortress wall had been. And I stood there looking at this, like, I don't know, maybe it was 20 nails or something like that we found in this place. And looking out over the landscape and imagining. So this fortress was from Marcus Aurelius' time, which is around 120 CE. And looking out and imagining this Roman soldier, this young man who's walked all the way from Rome to the Czech Republic, ended up in this military fortress, army fortress, and he's standing there, and for whatever reason, maybe the straps were, maybe he lost, maybe he was drunk and forgot it there, and who knows, for some reason he disposed of his sandal in this spot that I'm standing. And that feeling of like someone stood here almost 2,000 years ago, looking out over the same landscape that I'm looking over now. And for whatever reason, he left his sandal here. That sense, when 2,000 years of history shrinks, so it's thinner than your nail, it gives me goosebumps. And I wish everyone had that sense of wonder and amazement.
I get that. That's there's a lot of things happening in moments like that. It's partly that you're in the same place another person was experiencing the same thing they were experiencing thousands of years ago. This vast sense of time, this vast sense of human presence, it becomes more palpable. But also, that person at that time, some incidental thing like losing a sandal, it left a mark. It showed he was there. He was real. His life left a mark on the world that someone thousands of years later found.
Yeah.
So in both directions, time becomes thinner, and it echoes, it reverberates, it creates a sense of connection. It's indescribable, and yet we try to find words to describe it.
Yeah, I think that is one part of why people are so fascinated by ancient Egypt, because it's the one culture from that era where we can actually look into the face of people. Sure, their faces they look kind of emaciated, and their eyes are oftentimes not there, but you can see it's much more than just skull and bones. You can really see them, and I think that adds to our fascination, that they become so much more than a foot tall crumbled walls, or a brown marking in the ground that tells us that sometime in history there was a house here or a building here.
So
oh, Robin.
Robin's
so
here
sweet.
showing some love.
Yeah, we love Robin. She's awesome.
It's true. She had a fun debate the other day.
Yeah, it was
Unfortunately, with some
really,
less fun people, but still.
yeah, very true. But
Yeah.
she did really, really good. I mean, sure, her opponent, it was his first debate ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was his first formal debate. But yeah, I'm not going to go into it because there is a lot of history between him and me, and let's just say we do not get along. Was it your first too, Robin? No. Everyone said you had. Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, first versus first is not an unusual thing. But
Right?
digressions and tangents and
Yes.
things.
Tangents
There's
and tangents.
a bunch of things I want to cover before
Me too.
we run out of show. So here's another page I found. This lists off not only a bit of history, but also, at least as far as innovations, but also some of why that history is important. Like the pyramids are the most famous.
Which site?
This is from discoveringegypt.com.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, at the beginning, we start with writing, and writing kind of important for a bunch of different reasons. Like here's one reason why. This image of the ox-drawn plow. Like, for one thing, we can show through the use of history when these things started to occur, when people started to record them in history. But also writing, even better than imagery, gives us the ability to pass technology on to future generations. Instead of having to rely on people's memory, we can go back to the written source and say, okay, this is how you assemble a plow, for example.
Exactly.
So that's super useful. A few hundred years later, papyrus sheets. Now, this is a big difference that put Egypt light years ahead over the Mesopotamian civilization, because they had the ability to write stuff on paper-like material, whereas Babylon, the Tigris and Euphrates valleys, they were stuck with clay tablets for a very long time. Now, that's better than nothing, but papyrus,
and it's
is
very good
hell
for
of a lot
us.
useful. What's that?
No, it's very good for us that they used clay tablets, because if you have a fire and burns, it's preserved. Papyrus is I didn't know exactly how freaking fragile papyrus is until I got my hands on a sheet myself, and I still have it. It breaks so easily, which is why it's such a wonder that we have this the mirror papyrus, that it's a diary of an overseer, foreman of workers that are loading stones onto barges that they are carrying from Sinai to building the pyramid of Khufu at Giza.
That the importance of that cannot be overstated, because not only
Exactly.
does it banish that ancient alien, oh, we don't know they used barges, we have a first-hand account of using barges to transport stones. But
Exactly.
also, it gives us so much insight. It gives us answers. Like you were saying earlier, we lost the ability to read hieroglyphs for over 1,000 years. This
Yeah.
isn't the only culture that's happened with, but
No.
the fact we rediscovered it in the modern era, it's like it's equivalent to the discovery of the Ugaritic texts. It just suddenly
Mhm.
opened a vault of history that we had no fucking idea was even there, you know?
Right. And so this was what I brought up to my friend yesterday, that even though we don't have, or rather I couldn't find, because I'm sure it's out there. I'm gonna look for it later on. But even though I couldn't show him an image then and there of transporting stone on barges, on water, on boats, we know that that's how it was done. And we know that not because we have a video camera in the sky that's recorded it and showing it to us now. It's and this is what people don't really seem to get. And when I say people, please, dear audience, I know that you know and understand better. But this idea that things just happen, the pyramids come up from nowhere, and an Egyptologist is walking in the desert and they just stumble upon something and find it. And from that singular item, they deduce this entire story about kings and wars and gods and yada, yada, yada. That's not how history is done. It's not how archaeology is done. It's not how fucking anything but pseudo archaeology, pseudo history, and pseudo Egyptology is done. And Robin pointed out that the Ancient Alien show on History Channel has distorted history, which is true, but it wouldn't have to that degree unless it was for the fact that people are not sufficiently taught through the educational system how to vet sources is one thing, but also how does these fields, how do we conduct research within these types of fields of science? I can't really underemphasize the importance of multiple sources. We don't draw conclusions from a single source. It's an accumulation. And I understand why history in school is oftentimes it's taught through memorizing dates and
Oh goodness, yes.
names of kings and rulers. And even, I mean, today those things are completely irrelevant. I don't mean the dates and kings themselves, but memorizing that type of information. It was
Yeah, it's an
irrelevant when I
outdated.
was in school.
Well, the reason they do it is it's a leftover of the pre-Victorian era, because for a very long time we didn't use this BCE CE system or whatever else. We used a regnal year system, at least in the English-speaking world, and I believe most of Europe, although when they converted over varies at different times. But it's a very Eurocentric sort of thing. You needed to know when each king reigned and for how long, because that was the first step to reading your country's own history. You had to know when the reign of George III was relative to the other kings, so that when you read a historical record that says during the 17th year of the reign of George III, the American colonials rebelled, to make sense of that, you have to have the kings in their order. But it's a leftover from that. It's not actually relevant to history.
And that's actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because that is how, so today we divide Egypt's very long history into various periods. It's the pre-dynastic, early dynastic, old kingdom, first intermediate, middle kingdom, second intermediate, new kingdom, third intermediate, the late period, and so forth.
It's a lot of history,
the
folks.
Egyptians didn't, they weren't like, yeah, we are now living in the new kingdom. No. They didn't see, they didn't consider like the intermediate periods where there was upheaval and the how do you say it? Not the fall of the state per se, but Egypt wasn't unified anymore. They saw their history as one continuous time, but they dated their years by their king. So it was the first year of Sekhnenerita, the second regnal year of Ramses the Great, the 30th year of Pepi II, and so forth. And there we have the calendar.
Yep, it's important to note that's another thing that the Egyptians invented, right? Like, other cultures came up with different ways of keeping time and things, like, clocks. The Egyptians weren't the only ones to come up with clocks, but they did come up with two of them, and obelisks were used as a kind of sundial for one of them. But one thing that was unique to Egypt and spread outward was this idea of calendars, not just the cycle of the year, but marking how far back in time events were as a means of keeping track of things. Effectively, more than writing, Egyptians invented the concept of history itself.
Yeah. I mean, the first archaeologist was one of the sons of Ramses II. Which is kind of interesting.
Knew that the ancient Egypt, because Egypt has such a long history, there were people that we would consider ancient Egyptians who themselves were Egyptologists looking into what was then ancient Egypt. That's a crazy amount of history. It'd be like, if the United States lasted long enough, that there were historians looking into ancient America. Now, I don't think the US will, but it's just it illustrates the crazy amount of time. I did not know that that person happened to be the son of a pharaoh.
Oh. Oh my goodness. why am I blanking on his name? And the wrong name is obviously popping up in my head. But that's because another fact popped into my mind.
All the facts.
All the facts. The fact that we divide our days into 12 hours is also an Egyptian invention.
Oh.
As well as, and it even says in this text that's on screen, the 365.25 day calendar is also from Egypt. So they divided it into 365 days per year, with 10 days a week. And oh, my brain is farting now. X amount
of to draw from 6,000 years of history all at once.
Kind of. 30, yeah, right. 30 days every month, and 10 days per week. Eventually, as it says, Ptolemy the Third, which is in the third century. It has to be, because it's the 200s. Yeah, mid 3rd century BCE. That's the Ptolemaic period. I don't like it. I don't like it. Possibly because it kind of spells the end for the best culture in all of human history. Objectively. It's not just my opinion.
Yeah.
It's objectively.
No, I'd always heard that. Well, not always heard, but I had heard from other sources, those Assyriologists, that it was Babylonians used a base 12 number system, which is why we ended up with 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night, 60 minutes in an hour, because that's 5 sets of 12, 360 degrees in a circle, because that's, another multiple of 12. And we ended up with, because it was such a close match with the year, that we went with a 360-day year. And then when it became apparent that wasn't working, 5 days that were off calendar, so we could keep the calendar kind of centered. Like, it wasn't quite a perfect fit, so they modified. But did Egypt also have a base 12? Because if they did, why did they have a 10-day
No,
week?
they had a base 10. They used a base 10, which is what everyone should be using, like the metric system.
Metric system is pretty handy. I don't know. Like, I find it, maybe it's mytism, but I find it helpful to think of number systems in different bases. Like, in a base 10 system, we learned in elementary school the utility of counting by 5s, counting by 10s, and so forth. You can train yourself to do the same thing counting by 6s, for example. So it's the same process. You just practice and you start getting good at it. 6, 12, 18, 24, 32, 30, 36. I slipped into some, not important. The point is you can do it. And there's different utilities for thinking in those different ways. The same way learning different languages lets you think about ideas in different ways than if you only had one language,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the what you heard from well, apostates, heathens,
those
reprobates.
The guy with the bow tie, chief among them.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I don't know I mean,
No, I
he's
think it's safe.
obviously
I mean, Dr. Kip
an
does swing by
apostate.
from time to time. I don't think he really has a dog in that particular fight as to who gets to claim the length of the day. But his good friend Dr. Josh, I don't believe he comes around here, so we can probably talk shit about.
No, I love Dr. Josh. He's fucking awesome. And I how can you not love that guy?
No, it's true. It's true. So
And
I should be clear.
he's
I
so
kid. I've
knowledgeable.
met
Of
Dr. Josh
course.
and Megan before. I hung out with them only one night, but I did get to hang out with them, and they're so much fun.
I wish I could. I wish I had the opportunity. I really admire him and the way that he not manifest the way that he embodies förmedla. That word again. Why don't you Americans speak Swedish also? It would be so much easier.
It would. I blame our public schools.
Me too. Not mediate, not negotiate.
Yeah. While we're shouting out people, Left-Handed Jedi sent us a super chat for $2. Thank you, Jedi. And says, shout out to Gutsick Gibbon, the bane of young Earth creation.
Yes.
And it's weirdly, it's all sort of tied together, right? Because the young Earth creationists, they have an agenda that they're trying to spread, but they're using fake history to do it. And so much of real history is a target for them. For example, like people were mentioning in the chat earlier, the fact that Egypt has 6,000 years of history completely destroys the flood of Noah mythology.
Yep. And that's part of why I fear the future of these monuments. And I mean, sure, they will, in a manner of speaking, always also exist. Though, yeah, it would be. But to tie back to what you said about 12 hours and I won't say the Babylonians.
I believe it was it's credited to the Babylonians, but of course the Babylonians were conquerors and they took credit for anything they annexed.
Exactly, because
they may have come up with it. They possibly did.
12 hours per day comes from Egypt, but to divide 1 hour into 60 minutes, that comes from ancient Babylonia. In ancient Egypt, the smallest amount of time were up. And an up is that's it. It basically it means moment. So it wasn't specifically defined, but anything less than 1 hour.
Perhaps the amount of time it takes a water drop to drip?
I would say that would be much less than, so that there is no amount of ats in 1 hour. So that's another thing, that knowing to the minute what time of day it is wasn't important until the industrialization in what's the word?
The Industrial Revolution. Yeah, specifically, at least here in the Western Hemisphere, the railroads. Because a factory, you didn't have to know the exact time to the minute. If you worked at a factory, when the whistle blew, it was time to go in. Like, you didn't have to know what time it was and synchronize everything that precisely. It was for railroads. Like, even shipping had a tighter schedule but it was more like, because everything was governed by the tides, we need to sail on the evening tide. So you had all day to unload the ship. It didn't have to be down to the minute.
Mm-hmm.
With trains, though, the train is going to arrive at 12:05, and we need to unload a certain amount of things and load a certain amount of things because they need to leave at 12:15 to head on to Cincinnati or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, so Sweden, and you may not be aware of it, which is very fair, because I actually don't think most Swedes are aware of it, but we are actually, Sweden isn't in one time zone. If you look at, like, geographically, Sweden is divided through, like, half of Sweden is in one time zone and the other one in the other. But Sweden is also a very small and narrow, oblong country. So when railroads were introduced, it wasn't really tenable to have two different time zones on a stretch of land that is about, like, 400 kilometers, and it would cause a lot of problems, because if trains are going in two different directions and they have to meet somewhere, it's kind of important. So the time zone switch was pushed to the east, which is why Sweden is in the same time zone as Norway, and Finland is in another time zone.
Finland, that's who needs those guys?
Soot is almost all Finnish. I mean, yeah, he was born in Sweden, but he's apparently, what was it, 99.2 or something Finnish, and the rest is Inuit or something like that.
Now, I'm curious about that. It's a tangent on a tangent. So before we do that tangent, I want to hit Jester's tangent, because Jester sent us a super chat for $5. Thank you, Jester. And says his last name is Bowtie. He's Dr. Bowtie. Don't believe the propaganda. Also, tangent, my ancestors, Jester's ancestors, passed down the pancakes and lefse. Don't know what happened to the language. So hooray. Let it be known, until Dr. Bowtie shows up to correct us, that's his official name.
Yes.
So maybe he'll drop by sometime. I don't know. I still have to have Kip on and talk with him about his book, which means I still need to finish his book. Although
he needs to finish his book because he's not written any.
That's true. That's true. I've written no books, but Dr. Bowtie has. I can still call him Dr. Josh. That's his first name. So yeah, it's fine. It's
Dr. Josh Bowtie.
Anyway, I digress on a digression. Are nationalities that important? Like, aren't you all just Scandinavian people together?
Not the Finns. And the Finnish language. So the Scandinavian languages are all Germanic languages. We belong to the same language group. Finnish is Ugaritic language. So it comes from a completely different stem of language. And they are a completely different, distinct group of people, contrary to, and if we go back in history, I mean, these days, I can't even tell you how many. A lot of Finns came to Sweden in the 1960s as workforce here. But so Finland isn't part of the Nordic. Wait, I have to think. I want to say the Nordic countries, and I might be turning these two around, but the Nordic countries are Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland. And the Scandinavian are Finland, Norway, Denmark, I think. Or it's the other way around.
It depends. There's a bunch of different ways to define it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Scandinavian peninsula is Norway and Sweden, and sometimes that Finland Russian arm that sticks up from St. Petersburg, but sometimes not, because everything it's all arbitrary. Like humans just draw a line and say that is this part.
Exactly. Oh no, yeah. So yeah, never mind. Very, very off tangent that we don't have to go into the very interesting but complex and a bit embarrassing for the Swedes history of our countries and how we used to treat each other. But I can tell you this,
the Swedes used
just
to
to
be
have
pretty
it
violent.
put out there. I bag on the Danes a lot in the public space. And I mean, it's the fucking Danes.
It's true.
But
well, they're so close to Germany. They're so focused on snack foods. Although I will say Copenhagen is very near the top of the list for a lot of first world refugees, I suppose. Like a lot of people think like Copenhagen's right up there because it's broadly accepting to foreigners. It's a walkable city. There's a bunch of programs. There's a bunch of come learn the language programs, which is a nice thing if you're going to a country where you don't speak the language, that they have programs where you can learn the language.
I mean, of course.
A lot of good things about Copenhagen.
Wait, don't you have that in the US?
No.
What?
I mean, we do have like English as a second language programs, but it's more geared towards people who grew up in Spanish speaking parts of the country. It's like assimilate rather than a welcome to the US, here's how to talk to us kind of thing, you know?
What?
It's more hostile. Whereas in at least the impression I get from Copenhagen is a welcome to town, here's how to talk to your neighbors. In the US, it's a you must delete your culture and be one of us or we'll deport you,
goodness.
you know?
Yeah, I
case.
still wonder why I'm surprised by things like that. But just to again to really, really underline this point, I'm allowed to bag on Denmark because our nations are extremely close-knit. We are distinct nations. We have distinct cultures, and we have distinct, semi-distinct. We have distinct languages, but we are so close. I think it's difficult for, let's say, an American to understand how closely knit we have become throughout history. We're sibling nations. That's how.
Perceive your history as growing together over time or having the same ancestry and spreading apart over time?
It's both. It's actually both. So we have the same ancestry, and there has been a lot of like borders switching and things like that, owning each other and all that. With time, the language has divided into these distinct variations, and our cultures has too. But I very much view it as a sibling relationship where you grow up together, and as kids, it's you just exist in the same space, and you don't have many eyes, don't divide things in the same way. And then you go through, like, you start to become your own person, you have your own identity. So you start to fight and start to try to show who you are, and that you are special, you are not like the others. And this infighting starts, and we have been infighting since the Middle Ages, the end of the Viking period. I mean, not that we didn't fight prior to that, but there were no countries that we see today back then. Until, for all intents and purposes, it finally ended in 1905, when the Swedes eventually, I say the Swedes, I'm not othering, I take responsibility. Mom loves me best. Yeah, very much. We're the greatest. We finally gave up Norway and agreed that maybe our friendly union weren't necessarily a union as much as we bought them from Denmark in exchange for giving Finland to Russia. So that's embarrassing. So it's very much like siblings that have fighting and arguing, and then you move away from home. And as you grow up and grow into adulthood, you start to appreciate your siblings for who they are as independents. And you also appreciate your shared history and the value of that history and the importance of that familiar bond. So when someone is threatening, we may squabble from the inside, and we may tease each other and call them the fucking Danes and tell the world that they are the shameful speck in the underpants to the dick that is Sweden. We may say all of that.
Wow.
But if someone starts to squabble with us, starts to poke us, we're not going to just let that go. We're not going to say, oh, that's their business. Let them handle it. They're grown up. They can handle it. No, if you fuck with the Danes, you fuck with Sweden, and you fuck with Norway, and you fuck even with Finland. Because that's how close we are. And everyone understands that concept.
It's one of the reasons the flags are also similar, is to show that kind of independence, but also unity. It's very cool stuff. I get the impression that everybody up on that big, snowy, fjord-riddled peninsula just kind of looks down on the rest of Europe.
It might happen sometimes.
The ads are hearing us talk about Scandinavia now, apparently.
Oh my goodness.
Google is always listening, folks.
Yep.
Goodness. Alrighty, we are way the hell over time. It's been tremendously fun. There's a lot more history though, and I know Deviant loves talking about this. I do. I think it's fair to say we could probably do a part 2 on this in a future episode. Easily.
We haven't even touched the nilometer. I mean, I've never even said
like,
the word
broadly
until now.
gestured at the pyramids, and like we're still like at the border of history. Oh goodness. All right. Well, we do. I'll get it on the schedule. Possibly next week. I'll touch base with Devian in DMs on that sort of stuff. But coming up I have to schedule next week still. Tomorrow, because it's the anniversary of the inauguration and the end of democracy here in the US. We're talking about Christian identity, not identifying as a Christian, but is it okay? Yeah, that's the thing. There is a white supremacist group that calls themselves Christian Identity. They're affiliated with the New Apostolic Reformation and this general identity of white supremacy, hidden under a hood of Christianity, as you might say. And so we're gonna try to dig into some of that, expose some of that nonsense, and show how it's interfering with the function of the United States and interacting with Trumpism. And then on Wednesday, we're going to go back to, well, not the beginning, but a beginning. What got the ball rolling in this direction? Not necessarily that what's happening now was inevitable, but what set us on this path. We're going to go back to Reagan. We're going to find out about neoliberalism. Because here's a fun fact that not a lot of people in the US are aware of. The conservatives aren't conservative. They're neoliberals. They replaced the conservatives decades ago. We talk about how we don't have a real left in this country. That's true, but we don't have a real right either. We have liberals and neoliberals. Arguably, the liberals are also a different flavor of neoliberals, but that's a whole other thing. So we're going to get into that on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to take a step away from the frustrating politics around the anniversary. We're going to go back into distant history. You've heard of the year without a summer. Have you heard about the year without a sun? Because it fucked up history, and we're still feeling the effects of that today. It basically, the world ended. It already ended hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So we'll get into that on Thursday. Friday, planet smashing. We're off into space. It'll be fun. I hope you join us. And of course, bonus shows when I can, when there's time, all those sorts of fun things. So if you're new here, I should have said at the beginning, but if you've made it all this way, you must be enjoying what we're up to. So please hit the subscribe button. It helps ever so much. Use the other buttons too, like especially the share. The algorithm has not been nice. These past several weeks especially, views have been way the fuck down, and we need your help to get in front of other people. So thank you all so much for joining. Deviant, as always, it is a great pleasure, and I had a wonderful time with you. I'm looking forward to doing it again soon.
Me too. I love it. I hope the audience could handle the rambling and the tangents and bad language and good language.
Bad language. Oh, goodness. Well, as you know, people literally come here for the tangents.
That's true. That's what I hear.
Thank you, everybody. There are times when I really, really doubt about what the future holds, but then there's times like this where we're having fun talking about history and nerdy shit and different histories, in fact, multiple histories, completely off topic, and it's delightful, it's wonderful, and it's centered on learning things. And it's my favorite fucking thing in the universe, and I'm so glad y'all are here for it, and I'm so glad we still get to do it for however much longer it lasts. So thank you for being here. And as always, remember, you don't have to try to erase history and pretend it was some kind of magic alien being from another dimension, because you are better than religion. Toodles. Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for December. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Maya Adkison, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lil of All Trades, Deviant Outcast, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, The Mighty Filbert, Secular Feelinist, and Geo Sam. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember, or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
Just like